Hey, try and record myself in such a way that you can also look behind. See, like that tabletop right there. I like making furniture. I like making furniture pieces that are going to be celebrated and hung on to for a very long time. That was the joy of building things in this house for my children. And those kids have had their father illegally took from them for more than 2 years. For the last more than 10 months, I've been denied any access. No phone calls, no hugs, no nothing. I have a court system that I claim is criminally corrupt, criminally incompetent. And the way that system wants to show me that that's not true is then when the debate's over, right? The mother of my children is a child abuser. She cares more about feeding off your attention than she cares about being a good mom. She has no boundaries. She has enmeshment everywhere. She doesn't know herself or care for herself. She cares more about her mommy. Like, there's all sorts of errors. Of course I know what they are. And guess what? The story isn't about her. The story isn't about me, of how I've been abused. I knowingly committed to marrying somebody that I know was batshit crazy, right? You go into a bar and you give blowjobs to a bunch of strangers you don't know in the bathroom, there's a few people that are going to think you're awesome. I was one of those. I didn't slut shame her for it. I celebrated. I said, you don't even need to hide it. Put it out in the open. Talk about it. Celebrate it. I get it. I get it. After all, we're supposed to enable one another to go live their dreams, to go be successful. If I spend the day skiing, do I come home less? Do I come home less of a person having spent the day being happy? Right? But that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is in the beginning of my relationship with a court, they knew that one parent said they're abusive. They're going to tell you all sorts of endless lies and they abuse the kids. And the other parent says, no, they're a drug addict alcoholic who's abusive to everybody. You got to get rid of them. And so the court chose to listen to the person that gives it the most money. And repeatedly it makes this mistake, right? Like, the court is in the habit across this country of empowering the mentally ill. Our court system will empower illegally the mentally ill. And it does it because it makes you answer to charges. Not substantiated charges, not charges with evidence, just endless, empty charges. And then there's no accountability, right? So if you screw over Apple, Apple's going to get money and go address that law. If you beat to death enough homosexual people will stand together and be like, no more, man. No more. This is ridiculous, right? If you abuse a group enough, they'll stand up and say, hey, no more. We don't need a new law to address these abuses. We need the Constitution to apply to everybody equally. And when our law gets it wrong, you know who should fix it? The law. I didn't run for a judge. I didn't go become an attorney. I didn't go get a PhD, a Juris Doctorate, which is a real doctor. I didn't go past the bar association. I didn't go work for nothing forever for somebody else. I didn't do all those things. Somebody else did. It's somebody else's job to fix it and to clean it up. And when attorneys won't sue other attorneys for malpractice because, you know, it gets uncomfortable. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that girl. Then the standard of what exists becomes lower and lower. When you're on the bar association and you don't get rid of any deadbeat attorneys, because after all, I mean, you're taking away somebody's ability to create money. Yeah, I hear you. You could also be taking away a person's ability to steal $5,000 and give no representation to, and be held completely unaccountable, because after all, who's going to hold you accountable? Your school friend that's sitting over there? Who's going to hold you accountable? The judge? You're their top campaign donor. Come on. If you're a bar association, you should be getting rid of attorneys. If you're attorneys, of course you should sue one another for malpractice. Aren't you sick of being a butt of a joke? Aren't you sick of having your lifetime of education and job and career and beautiful accomplishments be reduced down to a butt of a joke, then stop being willing to stand next to that trash. And for those of you listening to this, dear Lord my God, is there no help for the widow's son? Hey, stay-at-home moms, imagine having your deadbeat husband gets to leave, tells the court lies, takes the kids. You have no running water in your house. You know who knows those kids are being abused? You. You know who should have known? The court. But it's easier to just keep abusing the person who was abused. And after all, if we abuse you enough, at some point you'll get it wrong and you'll fail. And then we'll use that as a justification for why it was okay to abuse you. That's insane. That's insane. Do you think it's right? Do you think I'm a better American because I didn't become violent? Do you think I'm a better American that I grew up holding and carry with me in my suit a copy of the United States Constitution? That my heroes were like John Glenn, Chuck Yeager. Oh, that senator out of Arizona. You got captured, you got tortured. You release us in the order that you took us in. It doesn't matter that my dad's an admiral. No. Like, we have proper people that are worthy of being heroes to. We have examples that get it right, like Pennsylvania, domestic court. Man, that's a public works. That's a family and trauma. You know what's past grotesque? You know what's abhorrently criminal and illegal? Profiteering on a family that's failing. A family that's ending. A family that's blowing up. Kids that are being traumatized. I didn't care about stuff. I carried all the stuff since we've been married up the street and give it to the ex. You know why? Because I want my kids to understand the lesson their grandparents and their mother failed to learn. Stuff won't make you happy. You can't buy your way to happiness. You can't. You can't. And I didn't fail. I gave love when I was given aggression. When somebody punched me in the throat, I'd throw them quickly on the bed so that as they weren't hurt and give them a kiss on the forehead and say, you went too far. And then the next day, you want a proof of a monster? The next day, hey, let's talk about that because that's ridiculous. I'm trying to tell you that the day before you go to work, you shouldn't be getting into tearing the house apart or pretending that you do something constructive at this house, starting a bunch of projects that you don't finish, making a huge mess, cooking meals nobody wants to eat. The day before you work is a day of rest. And you should have taken a nap. You should have hung out. Just sit and watch TV and rest and then go work. And then if you want to contribute to this house, do. But do it on the day after you work. And it's important because you don't have a schedule Monday through Friday. You only work 6 or 8 days a month, man. You should have a day of rest and you don't take it. And you choose to have a temper tantrum because I give you love. You want me to react to your temper tantrum and I give you love and I talk tenderly, so then you punch me in the throat. And then the next day when we want to have that conversation, all you want to focus on is what? How quickly I threw you in the bed? I know what abuse is, as do my kids. Think of it this way. 0 through 5, everybody agrees that that's a huge formulation of years, a lot of patterns of how you think, how your brain will work, all that is being set. My son has had more than half of that had his father illegally removed from him. He hasn't had his own bedroom. I mean, why would you? You just sleep with your mom every single night. When he gets his own bedroom, they convert a closet. A hall closet is what gets converted to his bedroom. It's insane. It's insane. I need your help. I need you to watch this. I need you to share the story with your friends. And it's time for healing. I've been the person that's asked, how come our leaders aren't willing to be transparent? How come people aren't willing to have an open and honest conversation, an open, honest dialogue? How come there isn't transparency or accountability? Hell, I've watched people celebrate women for being housewives because they don't wear makeup, because they were willing to do it naked. Because why? Because I made fresh bread, bought all the groceries, got fresh clothes, walked the kids to school, helped the kids with their homework so that they were getting tons of A's everywhere and nothing but success, able to go run at state and do pretty well, even though you were too young. Because in my spare time, I build furniture for the house that in my spare time I rebuild to the studs. But I'm the deadbeat because I don't wear a dress and I don't wear high heels. I'm the deadbeat. I'm the deadbeat because, like my kids asked, Grandma's horrible to you. Why would you rebuild the house? And I was like, well, if somebody's going to come in and say a bunch of horrible things about you and lie about you to feed off the attention, they're going to do everything they can to make you show your worst. Here's the lesson that I was hoping my kids would see. When it comes to family, you give as much as you can, as often as you can. You help in every way that you can. And you take care of yourself first so that you'll have a lot to give to another. And then you give to your family until they're taken care of. And then if you got anything else extra, you give to the neighbors, give to somebody else. And you know who will see the monsters for being monsters? Everybody. My words did not make my spouse be a child abuser. Her actions did. Now, it's been since the first week of May that she has been court-enabled to have complete isolation. The court system, instead of passing it on, like if that judge saw the mistake and was like, oh my God, a top campaign donor completely lied and misrepresented a whole bunch of stuff, plus my own laziness for not interacting with people that are sitting on the other side, this laziness of sitting in a back room that's not recorded and just talking to attorneys, this laziness of not firing magistrates that have had an entire career of getting it wrong because you think it's not a cost-effective decision. Listen, when you trade in child abuse, incompetence cannot be tolerated. And incompetence isn't being perfect. Nobody's perfect. Incompetence is when you find a mistake and instead of dealing with the mistake, you try to marginalize it and broom it away. You allowed parental alienation, which is child abuse. You allowed abandonment of a marital home. You've shut off water to the spouse that you awarded. I got awarded spousal support. And then somehow it magically gets took away. There's all sorts of wrongs here that are criminal. Trying to deceive a court repeatedly in evidence. Like there's evidence of this. This all should get kicked over to a prosecutor and people should start going into cement boxes. But the thing that should happen first, if you want to pretend that you're competent, the thing that should happen first is the abuse of my kids should end. The fact that I was looked at as ridiculous and made marginalized because I think I have half the time, half the rights to my kids. I wanted to be a father. I went and picked up medicine. I went to the physician appointments with my wife when she struggled to get pregnant. Of course I'm present. I walked my kids to school by hand. If you wanted to make an argument that was traditional, the argument would be why the mom gets to have any involvement. And at this point, after 10 months of willfully committing child abuse, there's some meat to that argument. Do you give sole custody to the child abuser? Here's what the best psychiatrists of our country say. Yes, that's exactly what happens. Because our court system doesn't behave like a court system. It behaves like sophomorish little girls in high school, junior high, or nowadays college. Somebody said something nasty with feelings. You need to answer for that. We need to find out the reason because feelings can never be wrong. Feelings can never lie. And so because of this, you make somebody defend themselves. You make somebody prove themselves to be innocent. And you throw away 500 years of Western civilization. You throw away a modern court system. You throw away the entire Constitution. What happened to my rights of liberty and happiness and pursuit of happiness when you take away my kids illegally? I don't look in the mirror and see a better American because I didn't pick up the Second Amendment and forcibly take back my kids. Instead, I picked up the phone and made a recording and tried to spread the word so that instead of my action being just reduced and trivialized because of my willingness to become violent, so I must be crazy, I would actually like the system to be corrected. I would like to know that people who are getting a divorce right now aren't having their children abused. And I'm not alone. There's in the news regularly, there's other parents, fathers, but other parents. Most of the time it's men, but it does happen to women, where the court completely takes away the kids and puts them solely in the hands of the abuser. Why? Because they make more money at it. Because they're not held accountable. Please, Summit County Domestic Court, could you please call them? Child Protective Service Agency for the state of Ohio. Google it, Siri it. Could you please call them? It's not okay that everybody knows that if your goal is to keep the kids away from their parents and teach those kids to hate themselves and they should hate the parent and the other parent should never exist, everybody knows that parental alienation is child abuse. She got everything she wanted and she willfully committed that child abuse that she said repeatedly that was her goal to commit. While lying, while falsifying, while doing everything wrong repeatedly. Are we going to really pretend that in all of our governments, in our city governments, our county governments, our state governments, our federal governments, there's no institution set there to deal with this problem? Because of a judge's horrific ability to be a judge, all other systems shall fail and there'll be no accountability and child abuse will continue? Please don't. My kids believed in you. My kids believe in a world and believe in America where people are in love with an idea. And the foundation in your pursuit of happiness and the agreement to our dance is predicated on the Bill of Rights. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter the gender you are. It doesn't matter how much education you have or the lack of education you have. We all have those inalienable rights. Every one of those rights have been taken away from my kids illegally. Every one of those rights were taken away from me illegally. Can my kids have a champion? Will it be you? I have a GoFundMe. The GoFundMe isn't for me to profiteer. The GoFundMe is to help end the child abuse of my kids. The GoFundMe is so that I can give hope back to my kids. Because, after 2.5 years of being abused, what would be soul crushing to my kids? For them to know that the system is exactly the same. That the system is abusing other kids. That would be wrong. And it doesn't need to happen. The errors that occurred in my child's life could be addressed. People who willfully lied so they could commit child abuse should be punished. People who knowingly funded the child abuse should be punished. The people who made money off of facilitating the child abuse should be punished. People who have lied for decades in court should be punished. We have systems to do things. Those systems should do them, right? Please call Summit County's Domestic Court. Like the video, share the video, help my kids out. Help your kids out. Help your neighbor's kids out. At the end of the day, feel awesome about yourself because you did something great. You didn't just have a sad with me about how horrible things are for my kids. You didn't have a sad with me about the abuse of what happened to me. You were empowered and you made a difference. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the shares. Thanks for helping in this great American experiment of using a tool of sharing information in a way that can leave the system better. Thank you. Know you're loved.